The following podcast is taken from a live broadcast on Inspire FM.
Assalamu alaikum. So this is the Welcome to Islam show. This is our weekly slot that we have on Sundays at 6 to 7 p.m. Once a month, the Luton Revert Group do the show. So we have the Luton Revert Group team here in the studio today. And our topic today is good advice for the new Muslim. So we're going to keep it quite light and free today and just have a conversation, because obviously all of us here are new Muslims. We're going to keep the conversation quite light and just discuss our own experiences and what kind of pearls of wisdom were imparted to us once we took our Shahada. So I'm your host today. My name is Kerry Manan, and I also have in the studio with me today Rosa and Freya. Assalamu alaikum, sisters.
Walaikum salam.
And we also have Catherine, who is a regular on the show. She's also going to be joining us at some point. So so today's show is about the advice for the new Muslim, and I'm going to kind of just open it up really early on, ladies, to say, you know, we all took our Shahada at some point, some of us more recently than others. Is there anything that you feel was a really important and pivotal point in your journey so far that's really helped you on your journey? Rosa.
Okay. The premise is that I planned to take Shahada. Mm-hmm. So I was ready.
You did a lot of pre-preparation before you took the Shahada.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So I knew that on that particular day I was going to be taking Shahada. And because I've been discussing it for a while, the advice that was given to me was begin to implement your Salah from day one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I didn't know how valuable that advice was going to be until, because it does, it takes you out of your everyday life long enough to refocus your intention and bring you back closer to your Creator, as well as to put into perspective what you do in your everyday life. I took Shahada just before Ramadan started. So
you set yourself up right there
head first right in there, but also it was 2 weeks before my mother passed away.
Oh, gosh.
Which meant that actually implementing Salah from day one made a big difference for me, because it gave me that solace. It gave me that internal peace that I might have struggled with if I hadn't had Islam to begin with.
Yeah. We've talked about this on a previous show where we did talk about, bereavement. But how a blessing our religion is in that regards, that gives us that solace.
And prayer especially. That was the one thing that held me together during the time that we were visiting family and we had to go through the whole funeral and dealing with family connections and all of that, and the family grief of all the different closest relatives. So it made such a big difference for me. It was the one thing that seriously held me together, and it's my go-to. I mean, we can make dua at any given time. We can make dua walking from A to B. We can make dua on the train. We can make dua sitting in the car. We can, just even the Bismillah before this radio show starts. That's just, all of those things you can do at any time. But Salah has got such a precious gift that brings us closer to Allah. That I think it's the one thing that does the most, really, because we come as we are in front of Allah, and we are with all our flaws and our insecurities and our worries, and we put all of that in Allah's hands. So implementing prayer from day one.
Yes.
But I'm not saying, you've got to get it right and it's going to be perfect, because the only one that's perfect is Allah. You cannot have a perfect Salah.
No.
Because we are not, we're weak, and we have, So
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting that you bring up prayer first, because actually for me, in my experience, when I took Shahada, I don't know if I just wasn't ready for prayer. I just didn't really understand prayer as a structured form, because my background, I was brought up a Christian, a Church of England, and my prayer was conducted on a Sunday morning in church. And
Did you not pray in the evenings?
no.
Before going to bed?
No.
Or-
I mean, I think I've talked before about how in my house we were Sunday Christians.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So for me, this kind of idea of a 5 times of prayer, I think my nafs got in there, and my life was taking over, and I just looked at this Arabic language, and I scared the, out myself.
Yeah.
And so I didn't implement prayer for a long time, because people were saying to me, you've taken Shahada now, you really should be praying, you really should be praying. And so many people kept telling me that, you really should be praying.
But who was actually volunteering to take you by the hand and show
nobody was
you?
following that through with, how about I show you? They were just telling me, but nobody was helping me.
Yeah.
And I had some books.
Yeah,
and I
we
had
had
some.
books. We've all had
we've
books.
all had the books.
Yeah.
But of course, I had more than one book, because I don't know if maybe somebody might have gifted me a book. I can't remember. So I had more than one, and of course that for me then became a minefield, because they were saying different things.
Yeah.
And so I just I think I just buried my head in the sand for a long time about prayer, because I just couldn't face it. I couldn't face the thought of having to try and learn all those surahs, learn all that Arabic.
So you develop that anxiety about something that you're dreading. So it's the fear of what it might be like.
Yeah, and just the 5 times a day even.
And that's stopping you from actually trying it.
Yes, I was.
And once you try, it's like children learning to swim, and they're afraid of the water. And until they've actually gone in, and then they realise, actually, this is quite
fun.
good.
Yeah.
I'm quite enjoying this.
I must admit, when I first reverted, like when I first did my Shahada, literally 2-3 days before I knew nothing about any of this, I literally found out the day before my nikah that I was having my nikah done. I had no clue. I took my Shahada the same day, and it was only as I then had taken my Shahada I started, reading a bit into Islam. But it's exactly the same as you. I had no idea what to do about prayers, or 5 times a day. How am I going to do it? Like, when do I do it? Or what do I do? Like, honestly, so confusing. It was mainly like obviously my mother-in-law who taught me, a lot of things, because same as you again, I got gifted a lot of books.
Yes.
I'm not good with books. If I'm reading them, my mind just goes straight away. I can't concentrate. I'm better when I talk to people and learn that way. But then, who'd you talk to? Because I literally lived in Luton, didn't know anyone at the time, only my in-laws and my partner, and it was honestly quite hard. But then, she started talking to me and teaching me, step by step about things. She said, look, don't rush yourself into it. If you rush yourself, you're going to get too into it, and then it's all just going to go. She goes, take it slow, research, I'll talk to you about things, we'll find different classes for you and things like that. And some of the classes I went to, don't get me wrong, they were really good, alhamdulillah, but other ones, I'd be there with like children who are a lot younger than me, who've been brought up already knowing, Arabic and, things about the Quran and things like that, and it was just so mind-baffling. Yeah, because they're sitting there teaching me, do you know what this word is in Arabic? And I'm like, and all the other kids are like, it means door. And I'm like, I've got no idea. But in the end, you start slowly learning. And I think it does help when you have people around you, helping you. And just the one piece of advice that I got given, which I'd put onto any Muslim who's reverted, and it's just take it slow. Like, don't rush yourself into it. Don't feel like a pressure. Like, if you don't do it, you're going to get sinned for it. It's main thing is your intention. If you've got the intention to actually go in and learn, and you're trying, then all you can do is just keep trying. Because, like you said, nobody's perfect. You're not going to perfect it straight away.
No.
Yeah.
But also, as you learn and you implement those new things you learn, then you whatever you do, not just your salah, but your making wudu, your general hygiene, your search for knowledge on all different aspects, from the fiqh of fasting to everything that you would do within your deen, within your faith. It becomes richer, and it becomes more complete.
Yeah.
So it's about, I think, that was what the advice that was given to me, about begin to pray right away. And I actually was practicing. I had a few trial runs in the days leading up to it. Okay. I was practicing, because you learn with repetition and you become confident with repetition. And because I was practicing it before I took Shahada, there was no pressure if I was getting it wrong. I said, well, I'm doing my best here. And if I get it wrong, I get it wrong. So there wasn't a big pressure on it. And with regard to seeking knowledge and getting there, it takes time. And sometimes when you discover things that the person that was teaching you didn't know, then they learn from you. So it is an exchange. In that sense.
Because we're all on the journey. We're still, even now, I would say, for myself, I'm still perfecting my salah. I'm still adding little bits on as I learn them, as I understand what the sunnah of our Prophet, peace be upon him, was. I add little bits on or change them, according to, the school of thought I'm following now. We're always adapting. And it doesn't mean that what we were doing before is wrong and wouldn't have been accepted. Yeah. It's just part of the journey.
So, Salman, comment for me. So I didn't really know much about Islam before I took my Shahada, knowing it was the truth without really having studied it in any depth. And I was in quite a sort of, I don't want to use the word chaotic, but a situation. I was travelling, everything was quite unstructured. And it was, things like classes. I remember I really wanted to pray, and I couldn't find a book, and I couldn't find anybody who would really take the time to teach me properly. And I remember being very frustrated, but the things that stands out for me in those early years was the kindness of some Muslims, individuals and family, who really sort of took me under their wing under all different circumstances. Sometimes we didn't even speak the same language, but just their heart was really, and they weren't teaching me anything, they were just being and loving. And they weren't telling me to do ABC or this, that, and they were just totally open. And that's what 30, 40 years later stays with me. And that's what's kept me, because it's only sort of maybe years later I really started to study properly in any depth. But those early years, it was the individual and families who connected with me. And
I think this is quite an important point, Catherine, that you raised about we all need, I think, in our early days, not to isolate ourselves. And there's often this, we've talked often about new Muslims being vulnerable and isolated, because quite often we're doing this on our own without our families coming on the journey with us. And for a lot of us, we might be surrounded by a Muslim community, but we are not engaged with that community. But I must stress that I do feel this is a two-way thing. I think as much as the Muslim community around you needs to engage with the new Muslim also needs to engage with the Muslim community. Because I know for myself, this is going to be my parting thing for today's show, is that for me, once I got involved with the local mosque, that's when I really felt comfortable with my Islam. That's when I felt like now I'm part of a community, now I'm part of a sisterhood and brotherhood. Now I'm meeting with so many new people, and, we're often told that, we should keep the company around us as those who are positive and will, bring us benefit. And for me, that was engaging in the Muslim community. Before, I had been struggling on my own, trying to learn and not getting very far. And having a lack of confidence. I wasn't confident enough to wear hijab. I still felt quite like it was a mountain that I couldn't really climb. I felt too overwhelmed by it all. I felt like, fasting, praying 5 times a day, can't go to Tesco's and eat what I want anymore. I was really stressed, and so it's for me, I've obviously got over those things as, with the intention that I need to do these things eventually. But for me, being part of the Muslim community, just in the last few years, has just been such a benefit for me. I mean, even just like being part of Luton Revert group as well. I've kind of found something now for me that I feel really passionate about.
Yes.
And in Luton Revert group, I am Kerry.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not your mum, and I'm not your wives.
No.
And I'm Kerry. And so for me as well, being out in the community, not just keeping within myself and within my family, I'm kind of come out of myself, and I've been pushed to do things. I mean, even doing this show for me, is pushed me out of my normal comfort zone. But with these things comes great reward, inshallah, because I've made some amazing friends. I've grown. I'm learning from you all. And for me, I know that there are new Muslims out there who do struggle on their own.
Yes.
And I know as well that there are new Muslims who ask for help and they don't get it. But people aren't always receptive to you asking. You have to keep asking. Don't just think, that I asked for help and I didn't get it, and now I'll just kind of sulk in the corner. You have to go out there and ask for it.
That's the thing, that when you become a Muslim and or you venture into anything that's new in life that you haven't done before, because it's such a change, it takes a great level of humility and as well as strength of character to actually say, I do not know, please help me.
And ego.
Yes.
We're fighting our own egos to say, actually I don't know something.
But it also works the other way, that for those who are in a position to help, they ought to consider themselves blessed by Allah, that they've given the opportunity to fulfill ties of kinship with their brothers and sisters, that they are given the opportunity to assist and to actually. It can be seen as a form of sadaqah, sadaqah jariyah in that sense, because I actually, I'll give you an instance. I was taught a particular dua. By my my tajweed teacher. She taught me this particular dua. I say that particular dua at the end of every salah. And every time I recite it, I also have a thought and a prayer for her, because she taught me it.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, and inshallah she's getting the reward from that.
There you go. Yeah. The same as somebody gives you a prayer mat. Every time you use that prayer mat, or a tasbih, or just anything that you implement into your practice. It's got great value for them as well. So, and you also, if you have the opportunity to help someone, approach it with humility, with a humble heart and a heart full of gratitude that you actually are, because you're. That person that comes to you in need, already you are in a higher position, because you have knowledge they don't have. Be humble, be gracious about it, and be grateful to Allah that you're given the opportunity to do that. So,
yeah, and I think as well, on that point, when a new Muslim approaches someone for help, and it could be anyone. It could be another new Muslim who perhaps has just been doing it for a bit longer. Don't just take that and then maybe do the minimum and then walk away, because that's so hurtful to the new Muslim. When somebody asks for help, especially if they verbalised it. I mean, not everybody's good at verbalising what they need.
Yeah. And some people don't know what they need. If you don't know what you don't know, so to speak.
Yeah.
And it's having that confidence to be, it's okay not to know. But for new Muslims to actually sort of say, well, I don't know how to pray, or I don't know how to fast. It's quite a brave thing to do.
Yeah, and it's not just a give a book situation.
No,
because that's not enough.
No, absolutely not. It's people.
It's exactly. It's like what you were saying, Catherine, about that's the biggest thing you remember even now.
I don't remember the books, but I remember the people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the time that you take to make sure that the person actually understands. And then if they are not getting it, then you break it down. And they're still not getting it, you break it down further. Then you simplify it and you're thinking, okay, right, let's see. Let me show you.
Yeah.
I'll do it and I'll go through all the movements and I'll show, you watch me.
Yeah.
You don't have to, you don't have to do it with me. Just watch me and see how I do it. And that is something. And you do that. And it's just, and you have to get past you're feeling self-conscious because you're being watched. And it's like, okay,
I mean, I don't know about you, but I've got to the point where I'm being greedy. If I meet somebody now who says to me they can't pray, I'm all over it. I'm like, yeah, I'll help you. Because I want that reward, inshallah.
Yes.
I'm like, if somebody says to me they don't know or they need help with something, I'm there going, right, I'm texting them, I'm like messaging them, you need money help, can I do anything for you?
Yeah. What's coming to my head is that it can be quite overwhelming because you might, I'm getting along, I'm learning the prayer, then you suddenly realise, well, I can't read Arabic, or I don't know what this means. And
it's all day. It's okay. Don't worry.
And you're thinking, no, I don't know this and I don't know that.
It's good to have someone
sort of suddenly coming up at you that you're lacking in some way.
We've all had that.
Yeah.
We've all had that feeling like we're inadequate, that what we're doing isn't enough.
Yeah.
But it all comes back to intention. It's our intention that matters. I've got one sister who came through Luton Revert Group who doesn't currently know how to pray, and I said to her, look, what she's doing at the moment is she's a really spiritual person in that she just talks to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when she feels like it, basically doing dua. But she doesn't verbalise it as dua because she doesn't understand that, but she just talks to Allah when she needs to. And I said to her, that's great because you're already connecting on a spiritual level, but salah is just about disciplining yourself to be there and in having that connection at the regular times that it's been appointed for us. And so now I'm just kind of trying to break it down for her and say, okay, keep talking, that's brilliant, but also in the morning Fajr time, and we're thankfully at the moment we can do Fajr like right up until like 7:45, so she's not having to like really like make a change to her routine. And I said, right, Fajr in the morning, get your salah mat that you got in your new Muslim pack, get your salah mat, get it facing the right way and sit down and just talk with Allah at that time. Allah knows your intention, and we'll build on it from there.
Yes.
Because she doesn't know how to do wudu, she doesn't know any Arabic.
Putting the time in place, that's
exactly. So that then, inshallah, she's still going to have her prayer accepted because she's sat down at the correct time with the intention of praying and connecting with Allah.
If she doesn't know any Arabic, then her salah will be accepted because she doesn't know any Arabic. So there is no third
and that's the thing.
The third element of it is she can fulfill it whichever way she can.
Whichever way she can. So that's the thing, is not to be scared about, what if we're doing things right and wrong when it's so early. It's more about your intention, that you are there and you're trying to do what is right. And it's like you said, you don't know what you don't know. So
until it bites you and you.
That's why having someone in this day and age, having somebody on hand on the phone, you can fire off a text, and they can answer, and they can answer you. They might not be there with you physically, but they can answer, and you've got that support.
That backup.
It stops that isolated feelings. Like you said, when you first revert and you're learning about things, you do feel isolated, you feel scared, you feel panicky. You don't know Arabic, don't know how to read this and how to do this. So just knowing you've got someone there, it just makes it a lot easier. Because I had all my in-laws, alhamdulillah, who all helped me out, but actually having someone in the exact same boat as me.
Who's been there and done it and wore the T-shirt.
It helped when I came to that Eid fair that time, and I saw Luton Revert Group. I was like, yes, finally, people like me. It helps a lot knowing that there's other people out there who have been through the same, and you can share. Even sharing stories helps. How did you tell your family that you reverted, or how did you handle this situation, or what you do at Christmas time, things like that. It just helps a lot. Like when you've got someone there with you, it does.
I think meeting and for me, when I first went to the events they have up in Markfield and Leicestershire with the Convert project they have there, their Ramadan retreats, that's what got my spirit, that put me on the right track for everything. The learning, the community, you could be yourself as well, and you could be honest. It was that was back in the was 20 years ago.
But they still do them, don't they?
They still do them, but it was I was 15 years into being Muslim before I got that real connection.
It's a different context, isn't it? I mean, to be surrounded by heritage Muslims who've been born and raised in the faith, they can help you with a lot of different things, and they can empathize with you to an extent.
Absolutely.
But
okay, we're going into a break. Sorry, Rosa. We're going into a break, and we'll see you after the break, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum, this is Atif Nawaz. Listen to Inspire FM shows in your time by heading over to inspirefm.org or listen on Apple Podcasts or Spotify.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome back, dear viewers and listeners. You are listening to the Welcome to Islam show on Inspire FM, going live here on Sundays at 6 to 7 p.m. We're in the studio with Luton Revert Group, and today's topic is good advice for the new Muslim. Sorry, Rosa, we had to cut you off a little bit in the first half. Unfortunately, this is what happens when we get together. We get a bit carried away in our conversations because we have a lot to say, and so sorry about that, but we do have to have our scheduled break.
I also have the attention span of a goldfish, so I completely forgot what I was saying at the time, so it clearly can't have been that important, so that's fine. No loss.
I'm sure it was.
No loss.
So the second half of this programme, I suppose I just wanted to focus a little bit more about what kind of advice we would give to the new Muslim in terms of what we've implemented now, because the four of us have been Muslim for a little while, some of us shorter, some of us longer, so a span of years between us. What kind of information, what kind of advice you would give to the new Muslim in terms of what's really kind of cemented your iman, your faith in Islam over the years and in the journeys that you've had? What kind of things would you recommend, things to like maybe implement for the new Muslim, once they're ready? What things have you experienced yourselves?
I'd say definitely for a new Muslim, always research for yourself. Like, people will teach you things, but always research the knowledge yourself. Like, back it up, make sure that it's correct. You're not just following anything that anyone's saying, so it could mean something completely different. And just, always have faith, even on days where it feels the hardest, that, you have no clue what's going on. Just know that, Allah's there watching you, knowing that, you're trying your best, and it will happen, inshallah, eventually. Everything will fall into place slowly, and just keep preparing, really. Just every day is like a preparation for the afterlife, really, and for Judgment Day. So,
and how would you say is the best way to kind of keep that in the forefront of your mind, in terms of remembering that this life is temporary, and what we're doing here is establishing ourselves for the eternal life with our Maker?
Well, one thing that makes me think like that is that when my mum passed away, mother-in-law, literally like an hour after she passed away, she started smiling, subhanallah. So from that moment, I was like, okay, now I need to prepare for the afterlife. Like, there's no more messing around now, worrying about worldly affairs of what need new TV and things like that. It's, I need to focus now on my deen and inshallah prepare so, I can get a good afterlife myself. And I think everyone will have an experience in their life, regardless what it is, whether it's, a loss of someone or, something that just isn't going right, that will keep it implemented in their head that, you can keep doing it, just keep trying, keep faith. There's always something that happens in someone's life. We always have tests and trials, really.
And I think that counts for kind of born Muslims too, not just new Muslims. You'll meet somebody who was a born Muslim and raised to know the faith, but weren't always practicing, and then something will have happened that's kind of clicked.
Yes.
Yeah. And then they're like, oh wow, that's it now. I need to buckle down and stop messing about.
I think it's also when we come up against something and we really struggle with it, or it doesn't feel right, or it's to try and have in our minds that this is a message from Allah. Allah's trying to teach us something. If we don't feel comfortable with it. One good tip that somebody gave me once: as a new Muslim, you're going to get lots of conflicting stories, and rather than just sort of say thank you, sister or brother, for that information, and leave it like that, and then do your research yourself. And everything is comes to us for a reason, for us to learn about ourselves, and it's an opportunity to make our own inquiry.
And we are all tested, so
yes,
even
nothing's a smooth path.
No, and everything in our day-to-day life is some kind of test in some way. You know, each day is us kind of like, you know, marks out of 10. Like you can kind of think back on what you've done today.
And everything is perfect in Allah's creation. What might appear to us as awful or difficult, or it's there's a perfection we don't understand.
And He has a plan for us that we might not understand and we might not think is great. But that's a way of teaching us something.
Yes.
You know, there's a way, you know, like we all go through tragedies and we just think, oh, subhanallah, like I don't think I can cope with this thing. I can't cope with what's going on right now. You know, when is this going to end? And it does eventually. We all come out the other end eventually, and we've all grown from it.
Yes, and that's growth is so important.
And it's something we should embrace, right?
Yes.
It's something we should embrace. It's like, you know, like we were talking earlier about, like, for example, bereavement. For all of us, I'm sure, bereavement is kind of like really one of the key things that like really like kicks you in the head.
Yeah.
You know, in terms of your faith and like operating just even here in the dunya, but your faith too. And subhanAllah, you know, having faith, I think about people, for example, who, you know, suffering illness, you know, really, really debilitating terminal illnesses. And I think, subhanAllah, how did they cope?
Yeah.
Because if I didn't have faith and I thought that this life was it, I would be bloody angry too.
Yeah.
You know, because I'd have no answers to why I'm suffering this way. But that's the perfection of Islam, isn't it? Is that it gives us those answers and it gives us those comfort.
Yeah, that's true actually. Because before I reverted, my granddad passed away, and I felt so much anger because obviously I didn't know that there was anything else afterwards. My nan, she was like a tarot card reader and kind of spiritualist like that, so I kind of listened to her when she said that she connected with him and things like that. But it was that kind of like built up anger, and that's who I feel for. Like you said, is people who don't have, you know, Islam in their lives. You know how they feel when it comes to people passing away or situations happening. Because subhanAllah, this religion literally makes you feel so at peace when there's hardships. Like when Mum passed away, I felt obviously sad. Obviously anyone would feel sad, but you feel more relaxed and at peace because you know
I can deal with this.
Yeah.
It's like a toolkit to deal with it.
Yeah, you've got the tools.
You know, we're all grieving or whatever, but we've got the tools there. You know, and I suppose that, you know, in a way for the new Muslim is kind of, you know, something that can give you a little bit of comfort to know that in the coming days you will be tested. We're all tested.
But you might not know what those tools are in those early days, and that's. But you know, it's all perfection. It's all there for. It's just alhamdulillah for everything. Whatever bad comes, whatever good comes, it's staying in that alhamdulillah.
Yeah, it's either a reward or it's a lesson. Like that's how you've got to see it really. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would never, you know, face you with something that you can't actually do. Like even if it feels like it's the hardest thing at the time, you know, Allah's given it to us because He knows that we can deal with it. Even if we're confused, why am I having to deal with this? Afterwards, you realise actually, subhanAllah, wow, look what I went through and how I've grown from it.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I think one of the things that has really helped me in terms of the last few years, really bring me to that kind of more spiritual place is going on Hajj. That in itself was the most unique journey I've ever undertaken. It's funny because when I talk about it, I kind of get such a welling of different emotions. I can't even tell you. Catherine knows because she was there with me.
Yes, and I had a hard time. I had really, really bad flu, and I wasn't really getting on very well at all. And I'm still reflecting on what was the lesson in all of that for me. But inshallah, I'll be going on Umrah in April, and I'm hoping that will settle me.
Yeah, and you might get that chance when you go to Umrah to kind of actually reflect back and like think, yes, you know, now I can. There's not quite the same pressure on Umrah as there is with Hajj.
But I remember, I think jealousy is the word. There were my people around. They knew their Arabic. They did their prayers. They were always doing tawaf. They didn't sleep for 3 weeks, and they went up mountains. And I just thought, where did they get this from? I'm not like that. I can't do that. I'm a human being.
And then I look at all the. Do you remember all the people that were like the refugees that were there, like the people who had come on boats and travelled walking to do their Hajj, and there's me getting on, you know, I mean, okay, I didn't fly first class, but it felt like it because, you know, you get on the plane and you arrive in Mecca and you've been air conditioned, and you've been fed and watered, and it's been, and then you look around and see these souls sleeping on the sides of the roads. You're like, subhanallah, I've had it way too easy. But for me, the first sight of seeing the Kaaba is something that will just stay with me for life now, and that now when I stand to start my salah, and I can actually bring myself back to looking at it in reality. Amazing. Yeah. So if inshallah you get the invitation as a new Muslim to do an Umrah or Hajj, then please do take it.
There is an opportunity. So I've mentioned before Mark Field and the organisation there to support reverts. It's now called the Convert
Muslim Foundation.
There is an Umrah that is being organised with that group.
Yes. In Easter holidays, I believe.
It's over the Easter holidays, and it's with it's along with the two sheikhs who are providing the seerah of the Prophet sort of tour around, all in English. It's aimed for new Muslims and their families to come along. There's still vacancies. We can put on the link on our relevant pages,
we can definitely.
Yes, please consider that if it's a possibility. I'll be going inshallah, and I'd love to have some more Luton people as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, for me, that's one of the kind of things with Hajj that I felt a little bit disjointed in that. I went in a really huge group, and I felt like, because I was a new Muslim, I felt like I didn't really have wasn't fully in touch with what was going on. Because, like, for example, even though we were a significant women's group, we didn't get spoken to by the sheikhs. The men got to know all the information, and that's not normal in my life. Like, in my family, I'm the one who does all the organising. Like, if I go on holiday somewhere, it's me who books it and does the itinerary and knows what's going on. My husband just kind of follows me. Whereas this way, on Hajj, I was like, I had no clue what was going on day to day, other than the preparation that I'd had to know, well, this day I should be stoning Jamrat. But other than that, I didn't have any clue about the schedule, when we'd be leaving, what we'd be doing. So yeah, having an opportunity to do an Umrah with a tour group that is specifically tailored for new Muslims, I think it really is a benefit that I cannot overstress.
And it's with a tour company that is well established, and Batul, who's going to be leading it, she's been doing these Hajj and Umrah tours for many, many years. So inshallah there shouldn't be any reason to doubt that this will not be an excellent trip, and I pray inshallah it will be benefit to me, because
inshallah I'm quite excited for you, Catherine. I am. I wanted to go myself actually, but unfortunately I didn't get the invitation this time. But that's for me. If you, as a new Muslim, if you do get that opportunity, do grab it with both hands. Rosa, have you got anything that you kind of think is like the golden nugget of the, you've not been a Muslim for, like, I'd say a huge amount of time. Is it like 4 years?
No,
5
it's
years?
coming up to 7 years.
7 years. Okay, 7 years. Sorry.
You know yourself better than anyone. You know your strengths. You know your weaknesses. You know how you tackle anything new. So have expectations of yourself, but have realistic expectations. If you're the kind of person that throws themselves in head first into something, full immersion, and then struggle as the difficulties arise, then the best thing to do is to pull yourself back and ease yourself in. If you're the kind of person that if you take it easy and you take it really chilled and laid back, and then you're laid back, and 6 months down the line you're still laid back, and a year later you're still laid back, and you still know just one surah, 2 surahs, 5 years later still 2 surahs. You know that you know yourself, you need to push yourself. So you have to know that Allah has got expectations of you. Allah has invited you to the truth, to haqq. And therefore, if Allah has got expectations of you, you have to damn well make sure that you rise to meet the challenge. So have expectations of yourself also. Don't be too hard on yourself when you get it wrong. but at the same time, keep at it. Keep at it. There's reward even in the trying.
Even in the trying, it's like when you're learning Arabic. In my Tajweed class, I was told, look, if you struggle to read it, you get your reward for each and every letter that you say. But if you struggle, inshallah, you get double the reward. And I'm like, yes, that's me. I get my double reward,
and I
inshallah.
think it's getting into that routine, which is where I think it is. Yes, it is important to try and establish salah as early as possible, and that gives you a reminder 5 times
a day. You're being brought back to reality.
Into your thinking and practice and lifestyle. That's a huge step. That's really beneficial.
And I know for me, certainly, I felt like implementing 5 times a day was just going to be horrendous. I thought, how am I going to do this? Seriously, when you're working or you've got young kids and you're like thinking, this is, it's too much. I can't do 5, But actually, once you do it, and then you kind of like start, practicing and doing it, it's not as hard as you build it up in your head and you think, oh, I'm not going to be able to do that.
The approach is... You plan your day around your salah. You don't fit your salah around your day. Otherwise, you're looking at it, you're coming at it from the wrong direction. And if you look at it, it's like, oh, I can squeeze in 5 minutes. I can squeeze in my salah now, or I can do it. Then you will feel there's an inconvenience and it's a hardship. It's not supposed to be a hardship. It's a blessing. So you come at it from the other way around. It's like, okay, so I can fit in this task and I can complete this task before salah. Great. Oh, I'm not going to start this task until after because it's going to take some time for me to do this particular task at work.
Allah in your life, isn't it?
And if you are, and there's something precious that somebody gave me is wisdom, is that if you are organized, if you organize yourself, then you will lead the life of an organized person. But you have to kind of like be proactive with it.
You take one step towards Allah, and He will take 1,000 to you. Is that what it is?
It's I think you walk towards Allah and Allah runs towards you.
And it's amazing what comes to you. It's having that intention, and you start making steps. And it's like
people say, like, oh, I work full time. How am I going to do 2 salahs during my work time? And it's like what happened with you, Rosa.
Yeah.
You thought the same thing, that, I'm working, where am I going to fit my zuhr, where am I going to fit my asr?
I used to struggle. I used to get so upset about it. And then I used to have to, if I couldn't find a place to go and set myself aside to pray, that was a struggle. And then if I missed a prayer because, I couldn't say no to someone, it was my fault. I chose to put that person before my salah. Then I shouldn't be doing that. And I say, when do you need it by? Okay, I've got something to do. I'll get back to you in half an hour. Or you plan your meetings. Oh yeah, okay. I can't do anything until 2:00. So let's sit down and discuss this at 2:00. That's a good time. Then they plan as well. Then people are reasonable, but also. I asked for a place to pray, and I've mentioned this before because I actually thought to myself, I can't do this. I'm struggling with this. This is hard. There was a mosque about 10 minutes away. By the time I got there and I found a place to pray, it was not conducive to insan. It was just it's like rushing to get to the doctors because you're not well, and you get to the doctors and you're stressed out by the time you get into the waiting room. So it's just it's not the way to be. So and once I actually took it upon myself, so like, okay, I need this, and you pray for ease.
Yes.
You pray for ease, and Allah doesn't do an injustice to anyone. And for some people like me, I'm just a very weak person. So for me, it's kind of like Allah goes very easy on me. I swear to you, because
that's so funny, Rosa.
But it is because it's just. But it's true. It's just if you're one of those people that can like. They can do the kind of army training, the ones that do circuits and they're like hardcore and they're like. Those will embrace the harder tests and they will shine with those. I wouldn't even be starting the first few squads, let alone anything else. So it's in a similar way, really. So Allah tests us based on what we can manage, and as you said,
He knows us.
Yeah,
even better than we know ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
He knows what we need.
And you know, and I know we keep talking about Salah, but you know, Salah is so important.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and Salah. It's only 5 minutes. You know, get over yourselves. You know, it's 5 minutes. You can't spare 5 minutes to talk to Allah.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, I saw a thing. I know it's Instagram, but on the Islamic pages that I follow on there,
they're nice.
It was like literally, you know, your 5 salahs altogether literally make up like an hour and something of your day, and you've got 24 hours in a day.
Yes.
Like, what is your excuse to not do it? And I do find that there's been times where I'll be late to one or I'll miss it, and I'm like, oh, and then that day I'm like, oh no, I feel really heavy. But the moment you get back on that like namaz mat, your heart just feels so light. Like all that heaviness just goes, and you just feel so free, and then you feel, I don't know, just at peace, don't you? It's just the best feeling, subhanAllah.
And the thing is that once you've met your Fard, you know that it's just that you're actually in such a good place that you think, well, okay, what else can I do?
Yeah,
you know,
you want to stand there for longer. You want the namaz to continue. Like, make it longer.
Or you just kind of open your Quran app and read a few pages, even read a few ayat. Just to read a few ayat afterwards. That's just kind of like.
And again, we're talking a few minutes.
Yes,
a few minutes, and then the reward you'll get, and not just the reward that you're going to get, but just the impact it'll have on your life with having that regular connection.
Yeah.
It's just it's immeasurable.
Yeah, my mum used to do that. She used to wake up for her namazes and do them all during the day. But then the rest of the day she'd be reading the Quran, or she'd be online, researching things, watching YouTube videos. And I used to think, how does this lady do it all day, every day, literally everything? And then now, I see. You just feel so peaceful when you're just constantly just got it there. It's got to the point where I don't even listen to music in the car. I listen to YouTube channels like Prophet's Path and Merciful Servant, things like that, just to keep gaining my knowledge whilst I'm driving and things. It honestly is just such a beautiful religion, subhanAllah. It honestly is.
Yeah, we're blessed, subhanAllah. So we've only got a few more minutes left in the show. I don't know if there's anything you just want to say in sum up. Otherwise, I can talk about Luton Revert Group's events that are coming up. Yeah,
go for it.
We've been running now for I think more than 3 years?
3 years.
It's 3 years, yeah. And one of the regular requests that we get at Luton Revert Group is about marriage introductions. This is one of the kind of minefields for the new Muslim, is that if they're not fully immersed within the community, they don't have, when you think about like traditional Muslim introductions, they don't have perhaps the support there to be able to make plans for marriage or even understand the sanctity of marriage. So one of the things that we often get asked about is, do you do introductions? And I always have to say, no, I'm sorry, we don't do introductions. That's just not our forte. The Luton Revert Group meets only once a month, and I say only, we do other activities too, but we predominantly meet once a month to provide the support there, we're a little community of our own. We're our own little family here to support each other. So obviously, because we've had this repeated request, we did sit down and think long and hard about it in our meetings, where we plan what we're going to do for our meeting. So coming up very shortly, actually, it's going to be Saturday the 1st of February. That's 2 to 4 p.m. at the Hockwell Ring Community Centre. We are going to have Preparing for Marriage event. So we are delighted to have Sister Batul Al-Toma join us for this event. She's going to be our esteemed guest on the day. And for those of you that know Batul, Sister Batul, you'll know that she is an absolute fount of experience and knowledge. And she just has such a wonderful way about the way she talks. And she's going to bring a whole different dimension to the meeting. She's going to be able to help in terms of explaining when you are ready for marriage, what are the practical steps that you should be taking when you want to take that step, what can go wrong, because unfortunately for new Muslims, a few things can go wrong. But if you're what's the phrase? Forewarned, forearmed. So she'll be able to kind of talk through some of the potential issues that a new Muslim might have in terms of, before marriage and after, and how to protect yourself. And then after that, we're also going to have an event in March. More details will follow. But that's 8th of March at Hockwell Ring again. And that will be an open invitation event where the details will be on Eventbrite. And that will be a full-blown marriage event. So we've got the precursor event this Saturday and then a follow-up event that's an open event to brothers and sisters within Luton. So if you are looking to complete the other half of your deen, so to speak, as the phrase goes, then, watch the page on Luton Revert Group where more details will appear. So, ladies, we're coming to the end of the show. Thank you so much, as always. It's been a very enlightening discussion. And Jazakallah khair so much for your time today. It's always appreciated. So I'm going to sign off now. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you for listening to our podcast. Why not tune in to our live stream at inspirefm.org and follow and subscribe to our social media platforms at Inspire FM Luton.